CSS Flexbox and Grid, they are both used for layout. They can stretch and shrink, they can center and align things, but what's the difference between them? And when one is more well suited than the other? And first thing to consider is the layout you're working with. If you're laying out items in one direction, for example several buttons inside a section, then you should use Flexbox. For one-dimensional layouts, Flexbox is more flexible, as Flexbox lays out items along either the horizontal or the vertical axis. So you have to decide whether you want a row-based or a column-based layout. CSS Grid lets you work along two axes, horizontally and vertically. If you require to create something with rows and columns, then choose CSS Grid. It is made for two-dimensional layouts. With Grid, you can declare the sizing of rows and columns and then explicitly place the things into both rows and columns. Flexbox and Grid can both wrap the items into a new row, but they handle wrapping differently. When the total width of items inside the container is greater than the width of the container, in a Flex container they will wrap down onto another row, when the Flex items fill a row. Grid can also optionally wrap, but as they do, they will fall along the same grid lines all the other elements do. So in this case, Flexbox outperforms Grid. However, if you want a multi-dimensional layout, like an image gallery for example, then Grid is the best choice, as the elements will be wrapped maintaining their width. Grid is also better in overlapping. With Grid you can place items on overlapping grid lines or even write within the same exact grid cells. Another thing to notice is that Grid is container-based and Flexbox is content-based. In Flexbox layout, the size of a cell Flex item is defined inside the Flex item itself, and in the Grid layout, the size of a cell Grid item is defined inside the Grid container. It focuses on precise content placement. The key difference with this approach is that in Grid, we had to define the columns, the layout first. We start with defining the width of the columns and then we place the content in the available grid cells. Unless we change the grid, we are stuck with a defined number of columns, a limitation we wouldn't have had to deal with in Flexbox. Flexbox enables you to allocate space and align items flexibly. The Flexbox layout is calculated after its content is loaded, whereas the grid layout is calculated regardless of the content inside it. So which one is better? Actually, there is no right answer. It depends on many different factors, and you never really know how useful something can be till you really try it. Flexbox mostly helps align contents and move blocks, while CSS Grid helps you to create complex responsive design, but sometimes it could be even more helpful if you use both at the same time.
Please write in comments why you've decided to become a web developer and what topics you are interested in. And if you want to be the first to watch such free educational videos, please don't forget to like and subscribe to my channel. Have a good week and see you next Tuesday.